What are you doing here? Nobody invited you. Please leave. Exit stage left. Hey, welcome back to another video nobody asked for. So I'm Sarah, and today's video is Unpopular Opinions Black Edition. So there's gonna be a lot of really spicy unpopular opinions. Some people may very heavily disagree with me, and that's okay. You're allowed to disagree with me as long as you're not disrespectful about it, because disrespect, that's a no-no. So without further ado, I'm gonna get right into the video. So my first unpopular opinion is that a lot of dark-skinned people that I personally see get uplifted, especially on social media, are dark-skinned people who have more Eurocentric features. And before you come for me, let me explain. By Eurocentric, I mean features that are closer to the European beauty standard, those specific features like the nose that's shaped a certain way, the cheekbones, the jawline, all that jazz, those standards, those standards that are closely related to whiteness. Again, I'm not saying that everybody who's white has these features. I'm not saying people who are not white are not allowed to have these features. I'm just saying these features are more closely aligned with being Caucasian. So back to what I was saying, a lot of the darker skinned people that I see being uplifted lots of times have, the thinner noses with the more defined nose bridges, or, they have high cheekbones, they got the chiseled jawline, they're usually more close, they usually have a lot more Eurocentric features. You don't really see dark-skinned people who don't have those features, like who have wider noses, who have less defined nose bridges, yet uplifted as much. My next unpopular opinion, wait, before I go on, I'm well aware that these aren't unpopular. These may not be vocalized as much. Like these opinions that I have may not necessarily be vocalized as much as other opinions in the Black community. I'm just calling it unpopular opinions because I am. My next unpopular opinion, a lot of people are probably going to disagree with, but it's whatever. Disagree if you want. I personally think that the Black community hates itself almost as much as racist people hate Black people. Honestly, there is a lot of animosity in the Black community, especially gender animosity. It is so very crazy. Just the amount of turmoil that is within our community. So my next unpopular opinion, again, this is a spicy one. I personally think, and I'm talking to myself too when I say this, I personally think that Black people should stop saying the N-word altogether, because while, the Black community took the word, changed the spelling, and turned it into a term of endearment, it obviously still holds a lot of weight, because when white people or just people outside of our race say it, even if they don't regardless of whether they say it with the A or the ER, it gets a reaction from Black people. We get upset about it. We get offended. I mean, granted, not every single Black person cares, but still a lot of us, we get offended, we get upset, we get angry. So because the word, regardless of how it's said by people outside of our race, still is able to upset us, I think we should just stop saying it altogether. That's just my opinion. Again, I'm talking to myself too, because I am a hypocrite. My next unpopular opinion is just ridiculous. It's just me being ridiculous. So Black people who only hang out with white people rub me the wrong way. They just do. Now, I understand that some Black people grow up in predominantly white areas. Maybe they were the only Black family in that area, but there comes a time in many people's lives, even when they grow up in those kind of areas, where you go to college or you go get into the workforce and you end up becoming surrounded by more diverse groups. And when you still choose to only hang out with white people, it's just like, why? I don't know, to each their own. It's not like every time I see Black people who only hang out with white people, I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm just like, that's interesting. That's interesting. But to each their own, That's just interesting. That's just interesting. Let me stop. stop. Let me stop. Next unpopular opinion is it's another one that some people might be upset by, but you know, it's whatever. No, not a lot. Let me not say a lot. It's not a lot. Some Black women who wear weaves and or wigs are using them as crutches. And I know you'll probably be like, girl, you have a wig on right now. Don't even comfort nobody. Hey. Slow your roll, okay? Slow your roll. Let me finish.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Wigs and weaves are supposed to be protective styles, but if you're out here just throwing on a wig or weave and you're not protecting your hair underneath, it is not a protective style. You have to take care of your hair underneath. So some of y'all are out here just throwing on a wig, gluing down a wig, or putting in weave, and then you're not taking care of your natural hair, like at all. And it's not doing any protecting if your hair underneath is just sitting there. You know, if you're not moisturizing, if you're not deep conditioning, if you're not doing hot oil treatments or whatever you're supposed to do to take care of your black hair, because I barely know, you know, it cancels it out. My next unpopular opinion is that if another Black person is being uplifted and that offends you, you need to do some soul searching, baby girl or baby boy. Like, how come another person being uplifted or another person feeling themselves or another person's accomplishments is a threat to you? How come when somebody else says, I just got my PhD, you have to diminish their accomplishments? How come a Black girl is out here feeling herself and you're like, oh, she thinks she's cute? Soul searching. Like, that ain't right. That ain't right. Also, this goes for white people too, because the amount of times I have seen Instagram posts where people are uplifting Black women, being like, oh my gosh, Black women are so beautiful. And nobody says anything about Black women are the only beautiful women or Black women are the most beautiful women. They'll just be like, oh my gosh, Black women are so beautiful. Like, look at how they pop in bright colors. And somebody be like, well, what about white people? I'm like, what about them? Who was talking about them? Nobody was talking about them. Like, how come you see a Black woman being uplifted? Nobody's tearing down white people or any other race for that matter. And you feel the need to bring up white people. Nobody's talking about white people. This is a post about Black people on a Black people page. What are you doing here? Nobody invited you. Please leave. Exit stage left. Bye. That bothers me to my core. My next unpopular opinion is let biracial people be biracial. Stop calling them Black. Biracial people, I mean people who are half Black, half another race, whether it be white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. Because I know there are different combinations of biracial people. When you only consider them Black, you're denying their other race, and two, you're completely invalidating a big part of their culture and their experience, because they're not only Black, or they're not only white, or they're not only Hispanic. They are Black and white, Black and Hispanic, Black and Asian, whatever the combination is. And not only that, but it also contributes to the erasure of Blackness, specifically Black representation in the media. You know how many times they'll put a mixed person as opposed to a non-ambiguous Black person? And be like, well, that's good enough. That's our Black representation. That's our Black representation. That's our Black representation. No, mixed people do not represent Black people, because mixed people have a different experience. Now, of course, it definitely varies, because, you know, not all mixed people look alike. You know, some mixed people, you know, will pass as the other race. They won't pass as Black. So of course their experience will be nothing like ours. Some mixed people are Black passing, so their experience will definitely be more closely related to a non-ambiguous Black person. And by non-ambiguous Black person, I mean a Black person with a person with two Black parents. And you know, there's people like Zendaya and Drake who are, you know, in between. And again, because they fall right in between, their experience is not exactly the same as a non-ambiguous Black person. So, like, even with Black passing mixed people, if they have their other side in their life, that is still a big part of their experience. That's still a big part of their culture. And by saying you're only Black or you're only white, you're completely erasing a part of them. I mean, not erasing. You can't erase anything. You don't have that kind of power. But you're completely invalidating a part of that experience, and that's not fair. That's not fair at all. You know, Drake is mixed, Zendaya is mixed, and this is gonna make a lot of y'all cry.
Some of y'all about to be real mad at me, but it must be said.
But Obama is mixed.
Oh, wow.
It is what it is. Stop pushing blackness on them. It's not fair. It's not fair to them. I'm gonna give a trigger warning before this unpopular opinion because I do mention sexual assault. So I personally think that people really need to stop throwing grownness on young black girls from like the age of like elementary school age, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. People are throwing grownness on black little girls, saying, stop acting so grown. Like, I remember one time I saw this little girl, probably 3 years old. She was just running, and her mom was like, stop acting so grown. I'm like, what do you mean? She's acting like a little kid. I don't see adults running like that unless they want to act goofy or they like running. She was just being a little kid. That is so harmful and so damaging. Telling a young black girl when, some relatives come over, you need to change. You can't be wearing that. You can't be wearing a shirt like this. You need to change. I don't want him looking at you like that. Like, why would he look? He's a relative. Why would he be looking at me like that? I'm only 10. And it causes a lot of people to over-sexualize black women. Because of this, so many times, people won't believe black women when they're assaulted. And not only will people not believe them, but they'll find a way to blame the black girl, no matter how old she is. I remember one time I saw this post about this 12-year-old who was raped. And this person was like, oh, these girls are so grown, so fast, they're so loose. I'm like, 12, please explain to me how a 12-year-old is grown. It is mind-boggling. Some 12-year-olds don't even go through puberty yet. When I was 12, I hadn't even gone through puberty yet. The insanity is real. Another prime example of this is R. Kelly's situation. Now, I know a lot of people were not on his side in any way, shape, or form, and I know a lot of people definitely do see R. Kelly as the villain in the situation, as they should, but there are people who are still defending him, saying, well, those girls were grown, they knew better, even though a lot of them were underage. Now, I understand some of them were underage, not that that excuses anything, but a lot of them, were underaged. And because they're underaged, they can't consent. They can't. An underage person cannot consent to an adult. That's just how it is. And on top of that, when you're a teenager, your brain is not fully developed. Heck, when you're 20, your brain isn't even fully developed. And not to mention that the celebrity and superfan relationship, not on the same level. It is an unbalanced power dynamic. Just like a teacher and a student relationship, or a boss and and an employee situation. Not the same level of power. So the fact that people really think they can blame these young girls, these young impressionable girls whose brains aren't even fully developed, for their own assault is absolutely positively disgusting. Absolutely positively disgusting. It's not okay, and y'all really need to stop throwing grownness on young black girls because it puts them in harm's way. My next unpopular opinion is that repeating the Malcolm X quote about black women being the most disrespected and unprotected women means absolutely nothing if you're not going to do anything to change that. So many black men want to throw up that quote on social media, throw it up on Twitter, but then y'all are the same people who will make fun of Megan Thee Stallion when she got shot. Tell me how that makes sense. You're gonna say black women are the most disrespected, most unprotected, yet when a black woman gets shot, the first thing you do is make a joke. You make a meme about it. How does that make any sense? You say it's not that serious? You say, oh, I didn't think she was actually hurt? Like, please explain to me how much sense that makes. I swear, a lot of y'all don't care about black women. Even other black women, because it wasn't just black men making jokes, it was black women too. Like, the amount of comments I saw saying, oh, it's not that serious, she just got shot in the feet. I'm like, okay, if you got shot in your feet, let's see how serious it'll be. You'll probably be crying your eyes out. Don't even start. She could have been paralyzed for life. What if he shot her in the chest instead? What if he shot her in the head? Getting shot is serious. And it's something that's extremely traumatic. Y'all are acting like y'all acting like she just tripped and fell or something. Like, you're acting like everybody's out here getting shot. No, this is not a normal everyday occurrence. It is serious. So if y'all really care about protecting Black women, you should probably start with not making jokes about them getting shot, you know? We shouldn't have to die before you care about us. I mean, like, even then, I mean, it took a lot for y'all to actually care about Breonna Taylor's death, so. But I digress. Black women's preferences need to stop being policed so much. It is so ridiculous how policed our preferences are by the Black community. And again, not even just talking to Black men, I'm talking to Black women too, because Black women contribute to this as well. Black men can require every little thing of a Black woman. Black men can require them to be light-skinned with good hair. And by good hair, they mean hair that's, you know, type 3 and above. They're not talking about any type 4 hair, no. Type 3 or looser curl pattern. They have to be slim, thick. They have to have their own bag. Everything. But a Black woman wants a man who's financially stable. Oh my gosh, you're a gold digger! You're a gold digger! Gold digger! Gold digger. Obviously, you're asking for too much! A Black woman dates outside of her race. She's called a bad wench. She's told she's betraying the race. She's called desperate. She's called ugly. A Black man dates outside his race. Yeah, some people might get mad. Some people might call him colorist, even if he's not necessarily colorist. But that's the most they'll get. They'll get, oh, you're betraying your race. You're a colorist. And that's it. But Black women will get called so many disgusting, degrading names. Bedwench? Are you serious? Bedwench is a direct correlation to slavery. These Black women are told, you know, they used to have to pay for it. Again, slavery. Now they get it for free. So you're comparing slaves getting raped by their masters to a Black woman choosing to be with a white man. How disgusting is that? Like, that's absolutely positively disgusting. And the fact that people really think it's okay to use the term bedwench in talking to Black women who date white men is like, y'all should be, I've seen women, Black women saying this. Like, do you know how awful that is? Do you know how low you're going by saying that? I don't understand why you would think it was okay to say that to somebody, especially knowing the history behind that. My next unpopular opinion before I run out of time is that snitch culture needs to die. It needs to die, be buried, never looked at again. Snitch culture needs to die because it lets Black people who belong in jail get away with things like violent crimes. It also demonizes victims of these crimes and witnesses of these crimes, making them out to be the bad guy, and it turns a blind eye to the people committing the actual crime. If you're not in a gang, snitch culture doesn't apply to you. You can snitch. And also, I know some people be like, well, what if somebody comes after me? You can always snitch anonymously. No one's asking you to go into a courtroom and testify. I mean, maybe they are, but there's always witness protection. You can always call an anonymous tip line. You can always send an anonymous tip. You can always snitch in a way that is completely anonymous so that you don't get in trouble. It's not fair that people are out here committing murder, assault, robberies, and they're out here getting away with it. And the victims can't say anything because they don't want to be a snitch. And the witnesses don't say anything because they don't want to be a snitch. That's not fair. You were victimized. You should be able to tell who did it. So my last unpopular opinion before I run out of time is that y'all need to stop calling Black women with short hair, bald headed. You know, there are Black men who will have really, 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 really short haircuts, practically just scalp. And y'all will still consider that hair. But a Black woman has a short haircut, has a little poof. And y'all want to call her bald headed. That's not fair. One, you're masculinizing Black women. And two, you're demonizing short hair. There's absolutely positively nothing wrong with having short hair. When you see a white woman with a pixie cut, are you calling her bald headed? No, you're just saying, oh look, she has a pixie cut. Oh look, she has a bob. You know, you're not calling her bald headed. So please stop calling black women bald headed that have short hair. So that's all I have for today. If you didn't hate this video, you can like, subscribe, share with your friends, follow me on all my social media accounts. They will be linked in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.